Shalom, people. This is Brother Laos coming at you with another video, and I want to talk about the difference between being woke and being wicked. Um, Back after the Kennedy assassination in the 1960s, they had a commission formed after all that stuff had happened with him and his brother Bobby Kennedy, and the commission was called the Warren Commission. And the Warren Commission, was to investigate, you know, across agency agencies all across the country. They were supposed to investigate everything to see who was behind the Kennedy assassination. Now we know that Lee Harvey Oswald, who they said was a lone gunman, he had been assassinated himself when he was in police custody. And we know that the guy that had shot him got shot and he was dead. So Warren Commission, their conclusion was that Lee Harvey Oswald was a lone gunman, and if you didn't buy what the Warren Commission stated, then you was considered to be what they call a conspiracy theory, meaning that you did not buy the official narrative, and that became a negative, right? Because the word conspiracy theory is not a bad term. All it means is you believe that two or more people got together in a conspiracy to do whatever it is that they were going to do, but they turned that into a negative. And so it has been stuck with any white group or whoever would come up with something other than the official narrative was considered to be a conspiracy theory. And then that is to make the public say that anything that these people say is not to be taken seriously. So we know that, black people, Hebrew people, we around in the 2000s, especially I believe after 9/11, a lot of us, started, waking up to just different things that were happening to us and had been happening with the advancement of the internet, the advancement of people being able to take pictures and videos and stuff and upload them on social media sites. It started with MySpace, and then MySpace became Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and Instagram and all these things. So now you had this just download of all these pictures of police doing different things that in the past you would just hear a little birdie say it, but you never could get evidence. But now the evidence was being put on line for all the world to see, and now we could start going back and revisit some of these things that we had been hearing, because now we have video evidence of it. Whereas before they had some kind of, it was like when we integrated with white America, it was some kind of cloaking device that they put over our minds that made us think that, hey, magically everything went away, and it didn't. It was just that we were being decompartmentalized as they was able to segregate us off into their communities and say, you don't see what you see here because that's going on there. But you're here and you don't have that problem, right? And so, but now the internet was bringing us the problems that some parts of the country had been saying, and we could see it with our own eyes and say, hey, all these years we have been hearing these people say that, but now they got video proof, they got picture proof. And then you start having all this download of information and books and stories and old interviews that we had never been shown in school. And so our people just start absorbing this stuff in and say, you know what, we need to go back and revisit everything. Indeed, it was through watching internet videos and different things like that that I came to understand these different things about who we are, about our existence in the Bible and all these different things, and also the interpretations and finding out about the slave Bible and finding out more about slavery besides what we seen in Roots, and then DNA came out, and then we started doing that, and then this thing is like just like Daniel said. He said in the end knowledge will increase. Well, our common enemy knew that this was going to happen, so somewhere down the line the term woke came in. Now again, it's not a quote unquote new term, because if you can remember the Spike Lee movie School Days, what was Lawrence Fishburne's character always talking about? Wake up, we gotta wake up. So it's not a new term, and indeed it's not a new thing all throughout our captivity here in America. But it's been many instances where we as black people were trying to wake up, that we was trying to take off the cloak of ignorance and different things that they had put over veiling our faces. But it's like every time that we tried to break out, something would come in and kill it, because it wasn't time. We hadn't served our sentence. But we know that uh, 2019 made 400 years that we had officially from 1619, when the British Empire brought in the first black slaves. We know blacks were here in America as slaves under the Spanish and French before that, but for all intents and purposes, we believe that the British Empire was an offshoot of the of the Roman revised Roman Empire. It indeed was the world leader when when Britain came over here, and then subsequently America, when they became a world leader. They were offshoot of Britain, and this another revised version of the Roman Empire, the world power. And so they have continuously been trying to cloak us and keep us asleep about different things, hiding and blinding us in different things. And whenever we would try to wake up from it, they would come in and either do a violent clampdown on us, or they would put in disinformation, or they would put people among us that would tell us, that's not the direction that we need to go in here. Let's go this way. But as we got closer to the 400 years, the Most High Yah, just like he promised, he said, in the land of your captivity, you're gonna wake up. Not just wake up, I believe, to understand who we are, which was really important, but also understand who our enemies were, and what we needed to do to get out of this paradigm that they had put us in, that we had been in, and understand that this thing with us being clamped down on and being subjugated had started thousands of years before we even got here to America, because we had been kicked out of our land once we came to understand that some of us black people that were here in America were the descendants of those 12 tribes that we was reading about in the Bible. But because of our disobedience and being kicked out, that the Bible said that we would lose our heritage, and indeed we would lose even the knowledge of who we are, that now this thing was coming back to us. The fragmented memories and epigenetics and all these different things, and the fact that like I said, the internet was putting out all this information, and our people now was starting to understand these different things. The term woke became a clarion call, like, hey man, this, you understanding this, then you must be woke. But what the powers that be did, because the that black people are mainly tied to the Democratic Party. They're mainly tied to the liberal part of the Democratic Party. I mean the the real and some of the wicked policies that they put out. What they tried to do to, just like they did with the term conspiracy theory, make it a term of shame, a term of being a nut job, is that they try to tie some of the wicked policies of the Democratic Party, the Liberal Party, to the term being woke. Not, like I said, to deaden our voice when we wanted to show, hey, this is what this says that y'all did, that y'all said that y'all would give us 40 acres and a mule. And this is what y'all did, not only to Tulsa, Oklahoma, but y'all did this to Rosewood. Y'all did this, y'all red line. We getting all this information. So there, and so now we are waking up to, there is a debt to be paid, and also that this information needs to be disseminated, because the history that you have been teaching us in the segregate and the desegregated segment of this country's history, when we started going to school with you, you was not teaching our children, and you was not teaching us the truth. And now that we have the internet that has the foundational truths that were being hid from us, now what you want to do is you want to take us learning that and equate that with all this wickedness that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party wants to push forth. You want to meld it all in there, and keep our people from understanding things that we can do to empower ourselves. Not empower ourselves to do evil, but empower ourselves to be better. But you don't want us to get better, because you're gonna try to tie the term woke to uh, uh, trans rights and LGBT rights and animal rights and all immigrants' rights and all this. You want to just put it in a big hodgepodge, and that's not right. But what we have to do as black people, as Hebrew people, is we must speak up for ourselves and say what woke means to us and what wickedness means to us. We must say that, uh, this is wicked to say that um, men that are trying to go into the women's bathroom, that's not woke, that's wicked. But trying to understand that we are owed reparations when every other group that was done wrong in this country was paid reparations, and that we need to get our reparations, that's being woke. You see, we need to be able to say, it's not, it's wicked to give pass animal rights bills to protect animals and make it a felony for you to, beat a dog to death or whatever. That's 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 wicked, because that's an animal. Yes, it's wrong to abuse animals, but then it is woke to say that you have not made any protections for us as black people, and you don't have a hate crime bill for us, and you need to do that, right? It's wicked to say that uh you are going to make those different schools that don't want to talk about the LGBTQ, right? To force the schools to teach kindergartens and all these other children LGBT stuff um, as children, or even in any setting, in from K through 12, in that you want to teach, that is wicked. That's not woke, right? We got to make the distinction. But it is woke if you're saying that the black family has been systematically um, destroyed, and that a lot of fathers have not been given opportunities to do the job that they wanted to do because of some of the social programs that penalize a father being in the house. That's being woke. That you would try to reverse some of those policies, right? And so it's simple things, like I said, that we can do, that we can speak up for ourselves. But the problem is our leaders are so tied in with these groups, and they get so much money, right? And even, like I said, on both sides, not just the Democrats, but the Republicans too, because we got black people that's in the Republican Party that, okay, they say they want truth. They want truth, right? But when you try to bring out the quote unquote truth, they say, okay, although that's true, that's being divisive, but it's still the truth. So what you're saying is, the way I'm going to keep that true message from getting spoken out is that I'm going to tie the message, your message of truth, I'm going to tie it to some wickedness policies that is out there, and therefore your truth is going to get muddled in there, and people ain't going to want to hear. And indeed, the people don't want to hear, because they say, if you tell the truth about what happened in slavery, and that a debt is owed or whatever, that's going to traumatize our children. It would be a disservice to us. It would not be woke to not tell the truth about what happened to our ancestors. That wouldn't be woke. That would be wicked, because they didn't have a voice. But we are here alive, and we can say it. We don't say it, because we think that we got some kind of power, that we are going to get out guns and knives and stuff and go make you do right toward us. But yet, just us saying it to you is almost like that, but that's wrong. We can't be silenced when we're not uh, have no hostile intent. Our intent is just that the truth is out, and then also that we can work back to get back some of the dignity that has been lost, or indeed was never given to our ancestors. That you need to come forth and say, hey, yeah, we do admit that we did these things, and also that reparations is indeed due, and not reparations in form of programs, but reparations in form of the wages that were held back needs to be did. That's being woke. We're not asking for our handout. We're asking for the wages that were held back from our ancestors, when y'all caused them to work for free for hundreds of years, and then all the other subsequent programs and stuff that we was not allowed to be involved in, land grants and different things like that. Soldiers coming back from World War One, to Vietnam, and everything, that black soldiers that were not allowed to participate in getting the disability and other financial incentives that were spoken of um, by the government and military for our people. This is being woke by just saying we want our wrong to be righted. That's being woke. All this other stuff that y'all trying to tie wokeness to is not being woke. It is wicked, and we stand with what's woke. We don't stand with no wickedness. And so, that's, I think it's more things that I can say. I could go on for hours with what I would consider to be woke and what I consider to be wicked. But all you have to do is get your Bible out and and read. Where it said that he would bring us uh, bring us to the knowledge of who we are once we would repent from sins, because in us being asleep, we have been um, asleep to true righteousness. Not that the message of Yeshua, Jesus, as some of you call him, did not save some of us to a certain extent, but we were still asleep. And when it came to certain matters of knowing who we are, making us think that we were all from Ham, or even that Ham himself or his descendants was perpetual slaves, when that's not what the Bible even stated about Ham and his descendants, which a lot of us, who are of Hebrew descent, we have close ties with Hamitic people, because we were always in close proximity with us. And I mean, I can see that in some of my DNA. You understand? So it's no shame, if there is a mistaken thing, or that, how can you tell between Ham and the Shemitic people? But they so close. But again, this is things that we as Black people, as Hebrew people, as Hamitic people too, can have deeper discussions and different things with each other, because even when we were in the land, you see that there were Hamitic tribes, Canaanite tribes, that were still there in Israel before we got kicked out. The Gibeonites, they were Canaanites, but they had made treaties with the 12 tribes. You can see the Rechabites, who were descendants of Rahab and marrying a Hebrew, and they were part of Israel. So, or even the Edomites, some Edomites, Obed Edom, that his family was in. If you look at when David built the temple, they were part of the those that did priestly duties. They were Edom, who was Jacob's twin brother. So that's not so to me such a big thing, but just the understanding that there is a difference. See, they don't even want us to understand that. They don't even want to understand, who's supposed to be in the land and who should be getting those billions of dollars that's being sent over to Israel, to the people that say they are the people, but they ain't the people. We the people. See, that's why they don't want us to. That's why they want to criminalize the term being woke and put it to all these wicked things. When you actually look at the land of Israel over there, some of the policies they have on dealing with sexuality and different things like that is very, very wicked. You see, so if you go and read what the Bible says about the real people coming back into the land, you will understand that when the real people come back into the land, there's not going to be no wickedness there. So again, you know, we got to stand up and be accountable and say, you know, you can take the term being woke away from us or whatever. That's not going to stop us from waking up to all these things that we have been blinded to for eons. So let's just be leery also that they will try to sneak in falsehoods among us learning different things. So we had to be on the uh, defensive and the offensive, that some of the information that they might put out there might be a falsehood. And then if you go out and you purvey that, and then it comes back that that information is false, then what they'll do, that will be used to try to discredit all anything with with being woke. So let's be very careful of the new information that you come across, that you vet it, that you understand, you know, what is its source, and not be a purveyor of it, and then come back later on with egg on your face and say, you know, I put this out, but actually this is not true. And be willing to say that, right? Because being woke is also saying, I'm woke, but I understand sometimes I can be wrong. Sometimes I can get information that seems like it's true, but it's not. Just like the Willie Lynch letter. I did not know until a few months ago that the Willie Lynch letter itself is not, there was not a person called Willie Lynch. That Willie Lynch letter was a thing put together by a black professor in the 1970s, and all he was doing was trying to codify into something what the white slave plantation owners and traders were doing. They were doing the things that's in the Willie Lynch letter. They was separating by color and all these other things. That's a given. But the actual person Willie Lynch that penned it, that's not true. So they can try to get you on that if you emphasize it. Willie Lynch is this, and see, and so we should be willing to say, come back and say, look, we understand that Willie Lynch was not a real person, but the practices were real that were being done. They did not have one man to come show them. A lot of these plantation owners, people learn by trial and error or whatever. And they probably did have other plantation owners and people that were giving them points and tips on how to do different things. So it was not necessary for them to say, okay, you know, since Willie Lynch was not true, that it didn't happen, because it did happen with or without the Willie Lynch letter coming out. So with that, I'm gonna, you know, get ready to end this video and say that I want you to leave a comment. I want you to subscribe, and I want you to hit that like button. And I want you to stay woke, but I also want you to stay righteous. And with that, I say be blessed.